So today with the disassembly and inspection of a 7R edger, essentially what we're going to do is a complete breakdown of the edger into main components. Miguel is going to help me with this. Welcome, Miguel.
Thank you.
And so let's get right to it. Drop that case down. So I'll let Miguel start off. We're going to remove all the major components. So the pad is going to come off, the gearbox is going to come out, the casters will come off, dust pipe, brushes, top, armature, everything. We'll lay it out, give you an idea, and then we'll throw it back together again. So we're starting off with the dust pipe and dust pipe support. All right, so essentially 4 socket head screws attached right here with these 4 screws and a gasket. So we have a spanner wrench for this, and before he gets going to take this off, I just want to make a note. The 7R edger's armature, where the pinion gear is, that pinion gear is threaded on, so it's not keyed like a B2. When you remove this pad, it's a left-handed thread on that pinion gear. When you remove this pad, there's a possibility of removing the gear or loosening the gear on the armature. So you want to give it a quick hit so that you just break the thread for the pad that's on the jack shaft as opposed to the pinion gear on the armature. So just make a note of that. If this is continue to spin on you, you've probably loosened the pinion gear. So just a quick strike just to break the pad loose. You see you put a screwdriver to block the main dust fan, and that stops the armature from spinning. All right, so there's 4 screws. You want to lean that down? Mm-hmm. So there's 4 screws that hold this retaining ring, and then the guide. So the guide has a brass insert sleeve in it to help it keep rotating and as you're traveling along baseboard or while you're edging. So this is going to just allow this to spin on the gearbox cover. So we're just removing the casters now. On the 7R, the casters are independent. On the B2, they're on a bracket. The way this is assembled, this is the internal components. So for the 7R, that spacer is essential. So what he's going to do is he's going to clean off the dust from the inside here as we get to about to remove the gear case cover. So he's just using the pad for leverage on the jack shaft. He screws it back on the jack shaft in order to get the gear case cover off. So essentially what you have a bearing journal in here. and another bearing on the jack shaft. So the jack shaft is what the gear is on, and the 2 bearings. And it's also this threaded portion that the pad spins on. So notice that's a left-handed thread. It has a slot in it for a wrench. And again, we're just stopping up the exhaust fan in order to keep it from spinning. The 7R brush system has 4 brushes. A B2 will have 2. So there's a 4-pole motor. This is the switch retainer. It holds the switch on top to this switch plate. And that's your switch plate cover. And this is the opposite side cover that both of these cover up the other brushes. So brush here, brush here, brush here, brush here. So what he just did there was take all 4 spring mechanisms that put pressure behind the brush to the commutator. It's just the front light cover and the LED light that the newer 7Rs come with. These are retaining screws for the top half, or top third, I should say. So you're just removing the wires for the switch. So you have wiring coming in from the power in. Right. So in this top third, we've got a lot going on here. We have the switch, so power in here, and then back to the brush block and the winding from here and here. We have our brush block here. So all of these components are replaceable. You know, this particular brush block looks, you know, really nice. It's hardly any arcing on it at all. We do have a spring-loaded washer in here. That's what the bearing sits on, and that would be the bearing at the top of this armature. So then we have our commutator, and what you want to look for here are any arced bars, burned bars. Look like we had pretty good commutation, which is just how the brush rides against the commutator, like that. All right. So that is the field. And you can see there's 4 poles here for the winding. We also have a gasket. This is going to essentially a dust gasket to keep any dust coming up through the top, and it sits on this baffle. So essentially what Miguel just removed is the armature for the 7R. This is a dust baffle here. We've got our exhaust or vacuum fan, and then we have a motor cooling fan. We've got a dust grease seal here and another bearing at the bottom. And that's essentially the bottom third that's now empty. So as far as the main components, we have our bottom half that holds the gearbox and the edger pad. We have the armature, our middle third that has the stator or the winding or field. And we have the upper third that has our brush block, our switch, and our vent plugs and handles. And then off of the back on the bottom third is our exhaust pipe. So those are the main components in a 7R edger. What we find most as far as wear and tear is going to be the brushes and the commutator. So these are regular maintenance items that you're going to want to replace. Again, this isn't the kind of breakdown you're probably going to do every day. You would just do the pads, the switches, the casters, and brushes, that kind of thing. All right, so we're just going to put it back together.